Within this bag lies the very reason why I do what I do. Got a couple of bags that I picked up thrifting this week, and I'm going to go through them. Picked up a bunch of other stuff as well, but I'll go through that another day. This in particular I wanted to focus on because to me it's one of the reasons why I do what I do, and I'll open the bags and we'll get into it. The first bag is from Value Village here in London. Not as much interesting in here, but there are a few things in here I'd like to point out. So I'll open it up and we'll get to it. Saw this little guy, not sure what he's from, but imagine he's from Trash Pack or one of those newer games or toys. Got a bunch of fish and of course dinosaurs, one of my primary collectibles. I love finding dinosaurs, especially vintage, made in Hong Kong from the 70s. But some of the newer stuff is pretty cool as well. Got some animals mixed in there. But this is the one that I bought it for. Let me just grab him. This little fella right here, he is unmarked. He's made in China, but not a brand marking. He's pretty cool. He's an ichthyosaur of some sort, so I'll have to do a little research if I could figure out what set he comes from. Love him. I've never seen him before, and definitely worth the price that I paid, which was $4.99 minus a discount. I always have a discount because I'm always donating. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Really cool teeth. Oh, let me just get that in there. Really cool eye. And a non-traditional tail, a little bit smaller than what they usually come with. Yeah, so I was glad I found that guy. Also in here, I love modern sea life as well, and this Hammerhead is pretty fun. Probably from a similar collection. I got this T-Rex in here. He's not a Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park generally doesn't show the screws on this side, so yeah, he's pretty cool, but he's a generic brand. Might be from Toys R Us. We still have Toys R Us here in Canada. I forget what it's called, Chap something. They make a bunch of dinosaurs as well. Also Walmart does sometimes in some packs, and this is generally what those will look like. He's not terrible, but he's generally not something I would purchase if it didn't have the other guy in there. Now here's one. I call him a Chinosaur Companion. These little guys, they are knockoffs of the Marx brand. Lewis Marx made dinosaurs back in the 50s and 60s, and when the licensing went, they were starting to be made in Hong Kong and China as well, which is where we get the word Chinosaur from. They generally packaged these in peg card type of packaging with a bunch of other dinosaurs, and we'll get to it shortly, but also some creatures that they called dinosaurs but were clearly not dinosaurs at all. And this was one of those. I call him the Ankylosaur companion dinosaur, and there's about 5 or 6 others that were usually packaged with these, so that's a good find. I like collecting those. I got a few modern rubber ones, not anything spectacular. Here's another guy that not quite the companion ones that I'm talking about, but I would say a knockoff of an MPC, I think they were called. It could also be a knockoff of a Marx toy, but one day I'll do a video just exclusively on that knockoff process and what I was able to find out about how they came about. Yeah, he's pretty cool as well, so he's another keeper. And another modern one here. Again, not that exciting, but you know, dinosaurs, they always are pretty cool. Here's another companion. This fella here. He's the Diplodocus, call him the looking back dinosaur. He's a companion of that same packaging. They were molded and remolded, and sometimes they have like strange patterns, sometimes they're really smooth, sometimes they have a lot of flash on them. This one still has flash, and flash is the molding mark. When they're pulled out of the mold, they sometimes have flash. The earlier ones, they cleaned them really well with detail, and paint was really nice. This particular one, it's made in China, so it's a little bit newer, and it's a rubber one. It's not your typical plastic one. So it's an interesting find. It's a little discolored, but the paint is still in good shape, and I'm glad I found that guy as well. Now here's a Triceratops that I have never seen before, so it'll be fun to go through and research him a little bit. It's probably more modern, but yeah, he's kind of fun. He probably came in a set, or maybe a board game, or a dinosaur package play set. Yeah, I'll look into him and find out more about him, so that's always fun to do as well. And here we have the second bag. This bag was actually only $2.99, which surprisingly, because this one's the one that I'm more interested in. Here we have a Styracosaurus, which is one of my favorites from the companion dinosaurs. Generally speaking, the ones that are plain like this are newer, maybe 80s or 90s, even into the 2000s. If they say Hong Kong on them, and can't see the marking on that one. If they say Hong Kong, then they are from the 70s or 80s. And this one has a really cool history as well, being packaged with the Chinosaurs, which looks like we're going to get to in this bag, so that makes me happy. Anyways, that one's a pretty cool one, in good shape. A lot of times, again, when they're molded and molded and molded, they lose a lot of their detail. This one has the skin texture and has the really distinct horns on its head as well, so that's pretty cool. Here's a tiny version of the one we looked at earlier. You can just see them for comparison. You can see that this one a little bit older. The paint job on there, hand painted or spray painted. I'm not sure how they did that, but probably with an airbrush. And the eyes are red. This one's a plain colored one, so it probably came with that yellow Styracosaur. Again, it's really cool though, and you can see how it changes over time with the molding process. It's got a much stubbier neck, it's tinier, its feet are a little bit clumsier, and still pretty cool though, because I love finding these variants. I've got about 35 different variants of this guy alone, which is fun, different colors, different sizes and shapes. So that's kind of fun. And here we have another one of the Diplodocus. You can see it's a little bit different than this guy. It is one color. It's not painted, which again tells me it's from the same set as those others, and tells me it's probably from a 1990 set. Anyways, together these are actually a pretty good mold. Side by side, they look very similar. Have the same texturing, and the one guy looks like he's been molded into losing his feet. This guy still has his feet, so you can tell that he's a little bit older than the other one. And a couple more of these guys. So that was a set that had a whole bunch of prey for the predators. Here's some fun foil, what do you call it, greeneries. This one probably from an underwater scene, but they're quite often thrown in with the play sets just to give it a little bit of a landscape for you to play with your dinosaurs and monsters. These ones are a little newer, so they're not that interesting to me. They're good. They sell. If I bundle them up, they do sell. Now this little guy, he's lost a leg, so he's just a sad case, but I'll keep him as well. Now this one comes from a set called the InPro. InPro did some dinosaurs in the 70s and 80s. This one's actually not bad. The paint is still on this one, and he's in fairly good shape. This is 1972 on him, and he's pretty cool. I sell these on eBay usually when I find enough of them. And I probably have about 20 right now, so I should probably do another lot for eBay. It's pretty cool. Now, this is a typical Chinosaur. It's called a screamer. A lot of these guys, they have their mouths open and they're hollow inside. That's saved on plastic to have them hollow, and plastic costs have changed over the years. But even back then, they were trying to save cost. And kids love to shove little dinosaurs like this fella here right inside of them, just to, you know, give them that full adventure, dinosaur adventure while they're playing with them. But yeah, this is a typical, and he is Hong Kong, so even though they still do make the screamers today, this one you could tell is because of the paint job. He's a little older, so he's kind of a fun find as well. I guess there's a fence in here if you want to have like a Jurassic Park kind of a feel or vibe to your play set. Not sure why there's a fence, but that's all right. And I got a newer one. This one's a little bit broken, and he is a hollow plastic, so he's not worth a lot. He's probably newer, and it's got some nice color on him, but definitely will go in one of my lots to sell. This little guy is an eraser. He's missing his tail. Not in the best shape, but they do have these. I believe they were called Dino. Dino made a bunch of them, and this was one of them, but generally would have a tail on it. This guy here, another newer one, not that interesting, but will look good in a lot. This little guy is a finger puppet that they made. They still make these actually today. If you go to places like Party City, you can find them. They're pretty cool. He's a really nicely colored one, but he does look a little more modern. Not sure if you can see him. He's got some good detail on him. I like that guy. Now here is one of my main reasons why I'm collecting. These little fellas are called Chinosaurs as well, but they're usually called alien dinosaurs. They are obvious kaiju knockoffs from the 70s. This one in particular is called the Umbersaur. Not sure why. I know that there's a connection to the Dungeons and Dragons. Some of the creatures in Dungeons and Dragons were inspired by these little bags of alien dinosaurs. I think these were knockoffs of dinosaurs from Godzilla and Ultraman at the time, which were quite popular, obviously in Japan and Hong Kong, but really spilled over into the North American market as well. He's one of my favorites from all time. I have found many sizes and shapes and colors and structures of them. Some are made in rubber, some are made in these hard plastics. Really cool. I've even found some mini keychains. I'll do a video one day about this guy in particular, and maybe a video for each of them. But yeah, he's getting harder and harder to find these in the wild, so I was quite happy to find a bag. Here's another example of the alien dinosaurs. This guy I think they generally will call the Dino Dog. I call him a chipekwe because there is some connection to the explorers in Africa from Europe when they first encountered a rhinoceros. There are drawings that look very similar to this guy, and they call them chipekwe. The locals from those areas call them chipekwes. So if you do a Google on that, I'll put the spelling in this video, but you'll see that there are some drawings very similar to this guy. He's generally one of the friendlier looking Chinosaurs. Love this guy. He probably came in the same set as those monochrome Styracosaur and Ankylosaurs. But these ones are from the 70s, and they've been molded many times, and this one's probably from the 90s. Also in here, I've got myself a little Scooby-Doo. He is from 1984, and he's also a Hong Kong produced fella. So that's a good find as well, because those Hong Kong figures are getting harder to find. Everything's been replaced with the China marking on them. And of course, those are mass produced nowadays for a larger market. They reach a larger market, so there's way more of them. So anything from Hong Kong is still generally very desired. And I've got a few more trees to go with the landscape. And I've got this fella here is another In-Pro. That's a nice surprise. I didn't see him when I was looking at that bag. Related to this this guy here, you can kind of tell, like from the painting and from the mold, they do have a similar look and feel to them. And yeah, this guy is a pretty good find as well. So he'll go to my list, my bag full of In-Pro dinosaurs, and I will be selling them as lots on eBay. And I got a couple more Diners in here. These are the erasers again. These are very dirty because erasers generally aren't meant to be played with, but kids did, because at the time it wasn't that easy to get dinosaur toys. There wasn't the Jurassic Park fan base yet. That came in the 90s, so dinosaur movies were not very respected. There was a lot of stop motion, but dinosaurs have always captured the imagination of children and spawned a lot of different things, toys and coloring books and many different types of products. So erasers was one of them, and here you are. And this little fella is a kangaroo, so he got stuck in there for some reason. But again, this you can see is an older one. He's a Hong Kong version. You can see that his eyes are painted. Sometimes the paint doesn't quite hit the eye, so they call that fried egg look, because sometimes they look like little fried eggs on their eyes, especially in the painting jobs that weren't done very well, or if there were two colors. This one is actually done really well, so that tells me it's an older one, because they took more care back then, and it's a pretty fun guy too. Anyway, there you have it. One of the reasons why I've gotten into the thrifting game and the flipping game, rescuing little treasures like these guys, these beautiful little guys from our past, from the 1970s and 80s. They just captured my imagination. When you're a kid and you didn't have video games and you only had Saturday morning cartoons, you were in your backyard after that playing with these guys to set up those scenarios that you like to reimagine from what you watched on television and read in comic books as well. So I'll do a video exclusively about these alien dinosaurs at some point. They're called Chinosaurs, they're called Keychains, they're called Pachosaurs. They have many names. I just call them my childhood. The nostalgic factor is huge when it comes to getting into the thrifting game. So there you have it. That's why I'm in it. And it just blew up from there, from toys and into every aspect of thrifting and flipping. So I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I'll have more detailed videos on these fellas in the future, and the entire gang. There's about 9 of them. There's a 10th, but he sometimes is not counted as part of them. They still even make that. It's a pterodactyl bird, and they still make that one today. So he fits into all different categories. So he's not quite part of this group, but I do still consider him part of this group because that's what I grew up with. So anyways, have a good day, and we'll see you again.